Welcome to Desert Island Tim's. My guest today is well known throughout the Celtic family and further afield. His courage and determination is an example to us all. He is known on Twitter as Tetraplegicbhoy. Steven McGhee, it's good to have you here. How are you?
I'm great, Billy. Thank you very much, and thank you for the overly generous introduction. But I'll take it. I've been listening to the show since you started it, and I'm honoured to be among such great company, so thanks for having me.
My pleasure. What was your childhood like?
My childhood was always happy, and that's something that I realise now that I maybe didn't appreciate at the time. You know, it's something that I owe a huge debt to Mum and Dad for, a day that I don't think I could ever pay back. They made sure I was always happy, sometimes at their own sacrifice. And now that I'm older, I can look back on that and I can realise what a great job they did as parents. I would say it was privileged, not from a financial point of view, but certainly an emotional point of view. I remember I was always happy, the household was always happy. I grew up with my mum and my dad and my sister. I was always given the emotional support that I needed. Mum and dad were very strong religious beliefs, and although they took me to church and I went to Sunday school, it was more important for them to teach me about good morals than it was about preaching about God. And they always told me when I reached a certain age, religion's up to me, but they wanted to get the morals ingrained in me when I was young. So I had what I would call a standard upbringing, if there is a standard upbringing. Living in Irvine as a youngster, there wasn't that much to do. It's quite a small town, and I think living in a small town like that can lend yourself to mischief. When you don't have things to do, when there's no organised events, you can quite easily be led astray, and that's why I would always be attracted to the cities. That's why I loved living in Glasgow city centre, I loved living in Edinburgh city centre, and I found I wasn't made for small towns. I was made for busy city centres, and that was what I liked, and that was what got the best out of me. Taking a few rebel phases out of the equation, I was generally a very well behaved boy, so to speak. Tried hard at school, got my grades, went to university, and that's when I moved out the house when I was 18, and I moved to Glasgow to go to uni. I couldn't stay away from the nightlife. The nightlife was too good to knock back, so I had to be near it. After uni I moved to Edinburgh for a couple of years, stayed there, a couple of different flats in Edinburgh, moved from Edinburgh to Falkirk, then Falkirk back to Glasgow, stayed in Glasgow for a few years, and in quite a poignant way I ended up moving back to Irvine and buying the house that I grew up in off my mum and dad. Then that was the last house that I bought.
Your first song, Stephen, what would that be, and why did you pick it?
This song takes me back to my mid-teens. I think I was lucky to be a teenager in the mid-90s when music in Britain was going through one of its better spells, and when it's rare good spells. This song takes me right back to days going down the playing fields, just sunny day, going down the playing fields with your mate. You've got a football, a guitar, a CD player, maybe a few sneaky beers depending on what age we were. This song takes me straight back to that, and it is The Day We Caught the Train by Ocean Colour Scene.
That was The Day We Caught the Train by Ocean Colour Scene. There was a life-changing moment in your life, Stephen. Can you tell us what happened?
Just after I bought the house off Mum and Dad, it was 2 months after that, I was going on my best mate's stag weekend to Magaluf. There was, I think, 16 of us going, something like that. It was all planned for carnage and chaos. His last weekend of freedom, we had all the pranks lined up. We got to the hotel at 2 a.m, and I decided impulsively that it would be a good idea to jump in the swimming pool, as you do. It was pitch black, there was very little lighting around at the swimming pool, and I misjudged how wide the pool was. It was actually before I even get into the water that I collided with the wall on the other side of the pool and hit my head straight on that, landed into the water face down. I actually stayed conscious the whole time, so I was lying face down in the water. I was unable to move, and I'm lying there thinking, nobody's going to see me. And eventually, I don't know how long had passed, it felt like forever. Eventually I heard one of my friends shouting out, "Oh, what's McGhee up to?" as they called me. And I thought, great, right, they've clicked on. And another friend replied, "Oh, you'll just be arsing about as usual." And I thought, that's me. I thought, that's my chance. That's when that was them, they'd seen me, and now they're just going to forget about it. Very luckily, I got a tiny cut in my head when I hit the wall. It was 2 stitches, tiny, but like any head cut, there was a lot of blood. And that was when my friends noticed the blood come out of my head. They realised something was wrong, and I heard the splash of them all jumping into the swimming pool and dragging me out. I got to the side of the pool, they yanked me out of the pool, and immediately I knew it was bad. I could breathe okay, and I could move my head about, but below the neck I had absolutely no sensation. I had no movement whatsoever. It was a scary situation to be in, lying there staring up at the sky and not having a clue. I was lying next to the pool, and my friends kept trying to tell me not to worry, that it'll be alright. They were saying, it's just shock, you'll be fine, you'll get over it. But I knew it wasn't good. So the ambulance came. I stayed conscious the whole time. I think it was about 45 minutes before the ambulance turned up, so it was a long time to be lying there not knowing what was going on. Luckily I was extremely fit at the time. I was a fitness freak, I always had been, and they told me afterwards that that's probably the only reason that I actually survived the original incident. The break that I had in my neck, 80% of the time they'll discover that break post-mortem. So it was only because I was so fit that my lungs kept working, and I actually survived that. So yeah, I'd been lying for 45 minutes before the ambulance turned up, and they must have given me a hell of a lot of morphine, because I woke up in the hospital. Waking up in the hospital was extremely daunting. I was in a room where people were milling about speaking a foreign language. I had no idea how I got there, and I couldn't move a thing. They'd secured my head at that point, so I couldn't even move my head about. My friends were waiting downstairs. They came up, then they explained what had happened. So over the next few days, my family flew over. They were given that horrible phone call. I had to rely on one of my best friends to do that for me. And I don't think I could ever ask more of a friend than to make that phone call. It was horrible for him. He had to phone mum and dad first of all and explain to them what had happened. And I can imagine, I know exactly how mum and dad would have reacted. Straight after they found out, they phoned my sister. She threw up immediately on being told the news. She was sick. My brother-in-law had to take the phone. Flights were organised within half an hour, and they were over within 3 or 4 hours. So I spent a few days over in Spain. They operated on my neck in Spain because they couldn't fly me home. My neck was too fragile. My neck was too vulnerable to put me in a plane and try and move me about, so they secured my neck with titanium rods and titanium pins. During the operation, I lost the ability to breathe on my own. It's nothing, it wasn't MD's fault. It's just one of those things. They explained the dangers of the operation beforehand. So I woke up from the operation, what's called intubated, basically, with the big tube down my mouth, and I couldn't speak. I couldn't close my mouth, and I didn't know what was going on. My mum was next to my bed at that point. She had to explain to me what had happened during the operation. So I was flown back to Glasgow, and I spent 16 months in the Southern General recuperating. 16 months is a long time to spend in a hospital. You become very hospitalised, if that's actually a word. You forget what life's like outside the hospital. That becomes normal for you. Your regime inside hospital becomes your life, and it's all you know about. You kind of forget what normal life's like. So for 16 months I was in there. During that time I had an extension built onto the back of my parents' house, somewhere that was going to be suitable for wheelchair use. When I was in a fit state to be released from the Southern General, I moved back to Irvine, moved into the extension at the back of mum and dad's house, and I now live with 2 carers. So 24 hours a day. I've got to have two people with me at all times in case something happens. But I would say I'm in general good health. All things considered, my health is very, very good. I'm lucky. The things that could be wrong with me don't happen very often. I'm very, very lucky in so many ways with my health. In terms of being lucky, when I had the accident, and ever since, my friends and family have been just a rock, a foundation for me. They've never left my side. I've got a great group of friends who, when I was in hospital, were always there. I never had a day that I was lying lonely in the Southern General. There was always somebody. There was usually people fighting to come and see me. They had to make up a rota. It was great to know that support was there, and that pulled me through a lot. It really did. I think without that support, I would have sunk into a depression very early. I've had my spells of depression since then. There's so much adaptation to learn about a new life. I have had spells when I've been depressed, and even through those spells, my friends have always been there. They really have. They've not left my side once, and they've dragged me back up and kept me going and kept me motivated through those times. So yeah, life-changing to say the least, really. I think that could be an understatement.
Your second song, Stephen, what would that be?
My second song is the reason that I wanted to play guitar. I heard this, I think I must have been 12 or 13 when I started playing guitar, and I heard this song and I just wanted to play it. I wanted to know how to make that noise. So I got my first guitar and I started playing guitar. I ended up joining a band with a few of my good mates, and I was lead guitarist in the band. One of the bands we looked up to at the time were the Stone Roses, and John Squire was the kind of hero guitarist at the time. And they nicknamed me John Dyer, so that tells you what they thought of my guitar abilities. I was my mates, I was John Dyer in the band. But this song is Pinball Wizard by The Who.
That was Pinball Wizard by The Who. Who were your influences and heroes?
One of my big influences wasn't a person, it was religion. My parents brought me up to believe in God, and I went to church. Now, they did give me the option that at a certain age, if I didn't want to keep going, I didn't have to. And when I turned maybe 14, 15, I did move away from Christianity, but it's always been a big influence on me, and I have always believed in the teachings of the Bible. I might not believe in God, but that doesn't mean that I can't believe in the morals that the Bible teaches you. I think if everybody was to live their life the way that the Bible teaches them, the world would be a far better place. And I don't think I need to believe in God to live a life that a Christian would live. I just don't go to church. I just don't pray to God. I would like to think that those teachings from a young age of going to Sunday school and going to church are still relevant in my life today, and that I still honour the way Mum and Dad brought me up with religion by living as good a life as I possibly can. I've never been one for having famous people as idols in my life. I think you only know what the media want you to know about them, so I've never really looked up to any famous people and held them in high esteem as an idol. I would say my great influences are people in my family. My gran, who is now 93, had a stroke about 10 years ago, and she's had a tough life. My grandpa died when he was in his 20s, and she brought my dad and my aunt up on her own from that age. She was always the centre of activity. She was always buzzing about, and everybody knew her. One of those people, you walked down the street with her and every person stopped because they wanted to talk to Babs and ask her how she's doing and ask how the grandkids are, and everybody knew her. When she had the stroke, she was moved into the assisted living care home, and now her life revolves around her carer coming in at 7 in the morning to get her up, and then she sits and looks out the window all day, and her carer comes in at 7 o'clock at night to put her to bed. But the reason she's such a strong influence in me is she's always got a smile on her face. And I think, considering my situation and considering what comes to me in later life, and I don't know what that'll be, I've got to look at her as a role model and say, well, if she can have a smile in 93 sitting looking out a window all day, then I've got a lot to learn from that. And my other influence is my dad. It's probably a common answer, but yes, when I was young, he was the one that installed the morals in my life, and he was the one that led by example. He practiced what he preached. He wasn't one of these dads that would give you a big lecture and they would come down hard on you. He would show me how to live my life by doing it himself, and that was a massive influence on me.
Excellent. Your next song?
Following on from when we started the band, we would have our band practices and we'd have a little smoke, and this is when I started to look into music from before my time, because growing up, music wasn't a strong theme about the house. Mum and Dad didn't have huge music collections, there wasn't always music playing, so it was only later in life that I started to look at artists from before my time. And we would have our band practices and we'd have a little smoke and we'd listen to music. This guy caught my attention, and I've always loved him ever since. And it was more to do with the lyrics and how deep and meaningful the lyrics were. I might have been influenced by the joints that we'd been smoking. They might have had a little effect in that. But I connected with the lyrics, and it was like a poet. And it was the first musician I came across whose writing was poetry. So this song is Forever Young by Bob Dylan.
Forever Young by Bob Dylan. What's your earliest memories of going to Celtic Park?
I never had very early memories of Celtic. My parents brought me up to try and keep me away from the old firm, and I don't blame them for that. We lived outside of Glasgow, and with me being born in 1981, you've got to think about that being just after the 1980 Cup final, and that was what they saw. That was their perception of what the old firm was. My dad also tried to teach me that you support your local team, so he would take me along to Rugby Park as a young boy. So that's my earliest memory of football, going to Rugby Park, and I enjoyed it. I was too young to know any better, but I enjoyed it. I remember being on my dad's shoulders in the Johnny Walker stand, and it was great. But as I grew up, there just wasn't a connection there with Kilmarnock, and I think it's similar to the way it is with people. You can't choose who you fall in love with, and I didn't love Kilmarnock. You're talking, it was the early to mid 90s when Celtic really became a big part of my life. You'd be talking just after Celts for Change, and there was a romance about Celtic, and you were looking for a team to support, and the way they played football, they had the philosophy. Rangers were racking up the trophies at that time, but Celtic refused to change that style of football. They refused to go and bankroll the big players. They had a way of playing football, and they stuck to it, and it was great to watch. I would rather have watched that football and won nothing than been a Rangers fan and had all the trophies in the world but no pride in the way we played football. So it was my mid-teens before I started going to Celtic Park. The big impact in terms of going to Celtic games started after the accident. That's when going to Celtic Park became my escape. In times I was heavily drugged, and probably times I was depressed as well. I'd come alive at the weekend. I'd be a zombie, so to speak. Bad choice of words there, but I could spend the week being like a zombie. I really was. I would sleep all night. I'd get up, then I'd sit in my chair in front of a telly and sleep all day, and then go back to bed at night. And that was my existence for a while. But when the weekend came, I came to life, and I loved going to the football, and that dragged me through some really difficult times. It was a big positive impact in my life. Well, most of the time it was a positive impact. I did go through the Tony Mowbray days and that kind of thing, but most of the time it was a positive impact, and I really needed that. My love affair with Celtic started after the accident, because that's when I needed them and they were there for me. And it's powerful. People don't realise how powerful a connection to a football team like Celtic can be. but I don't know what I would have done without that connection. I really don't know what would have got me going if it wasn't for the football. And it was through the football that I started to enjoy other things. I realised, look, if I get out of the house and I do things, I'm going to start enjoying my life again. And that all started with the football. So that's where Celtic came into my life, and that's where they're important to me.
Right, your next song, Stephen.
My next song comes from my love of live music. I've always been a big fan of going to concerts. I was a festival goer for many, many years. We would pick a different festival, and I still try and get to as many concerts as I can. I've always loved live music, and for me, this band are by a mile. They are the best live act in the world, certainly that I've seen, and I've seen pretty much everybody I want to. Nobody can compare to them in terms of the show that they put on. The last time I went to see them, this was a standout song, and it is Plug In Baby by Muse.
Plug In Baby by Muse. What irritates you? Fuck.
Not as much as what used to irritate me, funnily enough. Certainly after that accident, the public irritated me, full stop. Just pretty much as broad as that. The public just annoyed me. I think my confidence was low. I didn't know how people were going to perceive me when I came out of hospital for the first time. You're in this big chair, you've got a tube coming out your neck, you've got a machine hanging off the back of your chair. I really didn't know what to expect from the public, and at first they really could knock my confidence by doing the slightest little thing. You'd be going down the street and somebody staring at you could ruin your day. It really could, and that irritated me. The ignorance of people irritated me. But as the years went on, it didn't actually take long, but in time I learned to ignore that. And now I'm quite chilled now. I don't tend to get irate at people. If somebody's staring at me these days, I'll stare back, and 9 times out of 10 what you find is they'll smile and look away. The people that don't, I'll keep staring until they're the one that's embarrassed and look away. Right. But most people, it would amaze you, they're just curious, and I don't hold that against them, because I'm a curious looking person, so I don't blame them for having a look. But it's the ignorance of people constantly staring. If people give me a smile back, I'll smile at them, we'll go on with our day. I tend to find people in shops irritate me. That one still annoys me. I'll go into a shop and say I'm looking for a pair of trainers. I'll shout the assistant over. I'll show them the ones that I want. I'll ask them for a certain size. They'll go away and get them. Then when they come back, they'll say to my carer, does he want to try them on? But honestly, you'd be amazed with the amount of times it happens. It's unbelievable, and that irritates me. I've got to keep remembering that these people, they've got 30 seconds to decide how to react to my disability. I've had 6 years to get used to it. They've got to make the right decisions and deal with it in the right way when they've maybe never come up against it before. So I've got to remember that, and I've got to try and stay chilled out. So in terms of what irritates me, not very much, to be honest. I do still feel for some people who maybe don't have the tough skin that I do. People in my situation who might be younger are just not confident, because I know how damaging the ignorance can be. And although it doesn't bother me, I think about the number of people I've met who I know fine well, if they were in that situation, it could shatter their confidence. And when the confidence is shattered, it can lead to depression. And I've seen it so many times with people. I try and not let things bother me too much, because if I did, the list would be endless. You've really got to just shrug off, let it go over my head, and go on with things.
And your next song, what will that be?
My next song's a little nod to my hip hop phase that I went through. I've always been a guitar guy. It was rock music, it was guitar based music. But now and again, I go through a wee spell that I just love my hip hop. And particularly through the years I was at uni, I was a big fan of hip hop. And this song for me is one of the all-time best hip hop songs, and it is what I would call truly timeless. Because although this song was written maybe 20 years ago, the lyrics to it are about racial hatred and gang violence and gang culture. But you come 20 years down the line and those lyrics are still applicable these days to ethnic hatred and unnecessary wars in other countries, and the words just translate as well now as they did 20 years ago. So this song is Changes by Tupac.
That was Changes by Tupac. How do you relax?
Well, I think I've got a fairly stress-free life. All things considered, that might be surprising that you think my life is stress-free, but I don't have work to worry me. And that's probably most people's biggest stress factor would be their work. And as much as I miss my work and I would love to go back to work, it's just not physically realistic. The logistics of it don't work out. So I'm not going to be able to go back to work. But the good thing about that is I'm relatively stress-free. When I do get stressed, it's probably going to be something to do with my health. And the big way that I relax is my music, my football, and TV. I'm a TV addict. I spend hours a day watching TV, and I'll watch anything that's on the go. My music, I need my music to help me relax. I can't go to sleep at night without my music playing. So I've got my headphones on, I've got my computer set up with my voice recognition so I can keep in touch with everybody on Twitter and all the rest of it. And when I go to sleep at night, I play music. And sometimes my carers will come through and they can hear it through in their room. Then they'll come through and I'll be sound asleep. But I've just been conditioned to relax with music and it puts me to sleep.
Well, that takes us to your next song.
My next song's a bit more of an emotional pick. This one is important to me because when I was lying in hospital, don't know how long after that, so it would have been maybe about 6 months, I was lying in bed at night listening to music, as I do, and this song came on. It's a song I've always loved. I listened to it that time and I listened to it differently than I'd ever heard it before, and the words meant more to me that time. I don't think I'd ever paid attention to the words, but at that moment, the way I was feeling on that night, the words resonated with me and they really had a big impact. And at the end of the song, I sent a very long email to 3 of my closest friends to thank them for everything they were doing for me and that I knew they would continue to do for me. And it was all because of this song. Then I told them about the song. I told them the certain lyrics. I sent them that email just to thank them. I wanted them to know that I appreciated it, and if it wasn't for this song, I don't think I would ever have told them what I needed to. So the song is Bridge Over Troubled Waters by Simon and Garfunkel.
That was Bridge Over Troubled Waters by Simon and Garfunkel. So what does the future hold for you, Stephen?
God knows, Billy. Really, I mean, I plan day to day, and that's the honest truth. I'll plan for what I'm doing tomorrow. I don't plan too far in advance because I don't know what the future's going to hold for me. My health situation, I am vulnerable. I don't like using that word vulnerable because I feel I'm a strong person, but health wise, I am vulnerable. There's so many risks that I'm vulnerable to. Chest infections being the main one. That could happen overnight, then I could be in hospital the next day, and who knows what could happen after that. I've been close to death on a couple of occasions since the accident. My mum and dad have had that phone call, you better get down to the hospital, we don't think he's going to make it through the night. They've had that phone call, and I've woken up a couple of days later, bright as a button and absolutely fine. But who knows what way they would have went. So I really don't know what the future holds. One thing I do know is that no matter what happens, my friends and my family will be there with me. And wherever that journey takes me, they'll go along it with me. Every single step of the way, I know they'll be beside me. And having such an uncertain future, it makes a big difference to know that you've got a certain friendship and you've got a certain bond with your family that will always be there. And I think that's the most important thing for me. I can't control what my future will hold, but I can take solace in the fact that I won't be alone no matter what happens.
Your penultimate song.
My penultimate song is one that I've always loved, right back to when I started playing guitar. It was one of the first songs that I learned. It's a really simple song to play on the guitar, but I love it. It's a great song. And again, after the accident, it's a song that took on more importance, and it's now the title of my blog. The reason I appreciate this song so much is I interpret the lyrics are about appreciating your memories and realising that we're not in control of where we go, but make the best of what you've got and look back on your memories and appreciate them and appreciate the good times. And the song is Time of Your Life by Green Day.
Right, we've come to the part of the programme where I give you the complete works of the dandy and a copy of the Bible to take with you to your island.
Thank you very much.
Would you like a copy of the Bible?
I'll take it, you never know.
Which other book would you take and why?
My book would have to be Lord of the Rings, the complete trilogy. I remember being young, it was the first time I read a book that I was completely involved in it, and I got to the end and I was devastated to get to the end of it. And to be honest, I don't think there's been a book since then that had that impact on me. I believed that these places existed, I believed that these things happened, and that was just the power of the writing. It's a work of genius. It's a work about good versus evil, and although a lot of people think it's a children's book, it works on so many levels. It is so complex, and it's pure escapism. So if I'm going to the island, I'm going to want some escapism. So Lord of the Rings is coming with me.
A luxury. Something to make your life a bit more bearable.
My ventilator. That one, that's an easy one for me. That's a no-brainer. I don't know if you call it a luxury. It's a necessity.
Yes.
So I think I should get another luxury. And since I'm taking a book, I think I should have allowed somebody to turn the page for me. I know your rules. I know you're allowed to take a person, but you can't discriminate, Billy. I need somebody to turn the pages, so I'm going to take Mila Kunis with me, and only to turn the pages. I won't talk to her. I won't get any pleasure out of it as long as she turns the pages. So that's me. I'll take my ventilator, and if you don't mind, I'll take Mila Kunis as well.
Okay, shh, but don't tell anybody else, okay?
Thank you.
Your final song?
My final song, I'm going to go back and link it to the first one, and it's about being in my mid-teens through the mid-90s and all that. I hate the term Britpop, but that's what they called it at the time. But there was a new guitar band every week, and there was inspiration everywhere. And that period wouldn't have been the same without this band. They opened the floodgates for everybody, and they made guitar rock music popular in the charts again. And for me, this is the absolute best bit of work. It is The Master Plan by Oasis.
Steven McGhee, thank you very much for being a Desert Island Tim.
It's been a pleasure, Billy. I just want to say, a lot of people won't know what's been going on, but you've went out your way to do this one for me today, and I really appreciate it. It means a lot to me. Thank you very much.
Thank you.